All right. Well, I think we're at a time where we can get started with our program here. I'm really excited. I'm Felton Thomas. I'm the director of the Cleveland Public Library. I have an opportunity to um, introduce people to this Sister Cities Library panel. And we're going to talk a little bit about libraries. Now, I know I sent the folks a few slides, and I hope they were able to put in the beginning here of the program. First, I'm going to start by thanking our sponsors. We want to thank Platform Brewery, the Downtown Cleveland Alliance, Supply Side Group, Omer and Byrne, Rotary Club of Cleveland, Eaton, Taiwan Sister Cities, SIP USA, Margaret Wong and Associates, Team Neo, the Peace Corps, 12 Literary Arts, Growth Ops. Thanks all for our sponsors who helped us to be able to put this conference on. We very much appreciate it. And thank you for the Global Cleveland for thinking enough of libraries to allow us to have this panel. So I want to go to my first slide and talk a little bit about libraries, because libraries across the world are so different. I think we all have this view of libraries, sometimes similar to this one in Clementinum Library in Prague, Czech Republic, the classic old library that people see. And we're fortunate to have some folks who have libraries like this on this panel. In the next slide, you see a more modern version of libraries, the Stuttgart Library in Germany. This library is the classic modern library that people are starting to see in Europe a great deal. Just huge, great design, modern design as compared to the classical architectural design. But then you see libraries can be very, very different. In our third version of the library that I have in the slide here, when you see the Kenyan Camel Library Caravan. And this library is basically, they go throughout the countryside of Kenya, and they have their basically little boxes of books on camels, and basically go into the countryside to make sure that those rural users in the countryside are able to get their access to books. And so I wanted to use these three examples of libraries from across the world to really talk about while they are very, very different, the classical old design, the new modern design of libraries, or this new outreach design of making sure that everyone is able to get library services. We all have one thing in common, and that is the inspiration of the community of users that use our libraries. And so I'm really excited to have this panel together today, because with this panel, we're going to explore how they inspire their library users in different ways. We are fortunate to have folks from public libraries, national libraries, and academic libraries who are going to be able to share with you how libraries inspire their communities. So with no further ado, I'm going to get started, because we have kind of a large panel, and we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to share their information about their libraries. And we also want to make sure that we're able to take any questions that anyone might have about libraries and how the libraries are able to inspire their communities. So with that, I'm going to start first with Austin Bond. I don't see Austin on the group of the panel. I'm hoping he's here. Austin is the Mayo County librarian from Mayo, Ireland. So if Austin is here, I think he will speak up. And Austin might be just a little bit slow in joining us. So we will then move on and go to our second presenter. And when Austin joins us, we'll be able to add him in. Okay, so Austin is in. We're going to share his video. So let me give you Austin's bio. Austin Vaughn has served as Mayo County librarian since 1995. Before that, he worked in Meath, Wexford, Cork, and Louth libraries. In Mayo, he is responsible for delivering library service to Ireland's third largest county through a network of 14 branches, a school library service, and service to the Mayo Islands. Austin is also the Creative Ireland coordinator for Mayo, delivering a program of initiatives in arts heritage and creativity annually. And, we have a lot of folks from Mayo here in Cleveland, so we're excited to hear Austin speak to what they provide in their libraries in Mayo. Okay, we're still having some difficulty with bringing up Austin. So, Dr. Villarreal, if you're ready.
Yes.
We're going to move to you. And then we'll come back to Austin. Dr. Jose Javier Villarreal, the poet, editor, translator, and professor, is the director of the Alfonsina Chapel University Library of the Autonomous University of Nueva Leon. He has written a number of poems, which he has been translated into multiple languages. And I was able to see your presentation earlier. I'm really excited. Your library is beautiful. So,
thank you very much.
So why don't you go ahead and start and give us an introduction to your library.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. I read in Spanish, but the PowerPoint is in English. Buenos días. Reciban un saludo de nuestro rector, el maestro Rogelio Garza Rivera, y del doctor José Garza Acuña, secretario de Extensión y Cultura de la Universidad Autónoma de Nuevo León. Soy el doctor José Javier Villarreal, director de la Capilla Alfonsina, y me da mucho gusto participar en este panel. Les presento la Capilla Alfonsina Biblioteca Universitaria. Nuestra biblioteca se inauguró el 13 de noviembre de 1980 en el corazón de la universidad. Su explanada principal para albergar los libros y revistas que en vida pertenecieron a Alfonso Reyes, el más grande escritor y humanista de la primera mitad del siglo XX mexicano, además de otros 15 valiosos fondos bibliográficos y hemerográficos. Actualmente cuenta con 7 salas y un acervo en incremento de alrededor de 188,000 volúmenes de libros y cerca de 250,000 fascículos de publicaciones periódicas. Además, forma parte del Sistema Integral de Bibliotecas de la Universidad, una red compuesta por 84 bibliotecas. Al resguardar la biblioteca personal de Alfonso Reyes, también llamado el Regiomontano Universal, por su gran labor diplomática y humanista, la Capilla Alfonsina tiene el deber de emular su trayectoria. Por ello, su misión es constituirse en un centro humanístico que brinde servicios bibliotecarios que permitan y estimulen la investigación de los acervos para generar líneas de estudio y libros que enriquezcan el pensamiento reflexivo y crítico. Nuestros principales objetivos son garantizar la preservación de los materiales bibliohemerográficos y fortalecer las iniciativas de investigación y crítica literarias. Para ello, contamos con un departamento editorial que se encarga de la edición del boletín Interfolia, la colección de poesía internacional El Oro de los Tigres, la memoria del Premio Internacional Alfonso Reyes, entre otros libros y materiales impresos. A lo largo del año, desarrollamos una nutrida agenda de actividades artísticas, culturales y académicas, como lecturas, conferencias, presentaciones de libros, ciclos de cine, conciertos, así como coloquios, congresos, encuentros y festivales que contribuyan a la formación de los estudiantes y del público en general. Todas estas líneas de trabajo han consolidado a la Capilla Alfonsina como un centro cultural que alberga y difunde manifestaciones de gran trascendencia a nivel regional, nacional e internacional. Para mantener y fortalecer el perfil que nuestra biblioteca ha alcanzado, buscamos siempre establecer alianzas con otras instituciones acordes. Para ir a la par con los nuevos soportes y demandas de consulta y lectura, en 2007 comenzamos un extenso proyecto de digitalización. Gran parte del material ya está disponible en la colección digital. La principal herramienta digital que ofrece la biblioteca es su catálogo electrónico, disponible en línea en la página web codice.unl.mx. Ahí se encuentran los libros y hemerográficos antes mencionados, incluyendo el acceso al repositorio institucional, la colección digital, las bases de datos, entre otros. Todo esto facilitó que el trabajo de la biblioteca durante la contingencia que atravesamos debido a la pandemia por el COVID-19 se siguiera realizando de manera no presencial. A pesar de la distancia, hemos logrado estar unidos y mantener nuestra presencia ante los usuarios e incluso ampliarla a través de nuestras redes sociales. Además, nos ha brindado la oportunidad de establecer nuevas colaboraciones con instituciones y personalidades de diversas partes del mundo. Hemos elaborado un protocolo que nos permitirá reabrir la biblioteca de manera pausada, siguiendo los lineamientos de nuestros gobiernos federal y estatal establecieron para el retorno a la nueva normalidad y las pautas que señala nuestra rectoría para garantizar que la prioridad sea salvaguardar la seguridad de nuestros usuarios y empleados. Cierro esta charla expresando mi gratitud por permitirme participar en este panel. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Sorry, I don't hear you.
Me.
Yes.
All right. So I want to just thank you, Dr. Villarreal. I think it's really interesting how every country will have and library will have responded to COVID-19. And we'll talk a little bit about that in our questions place. But also I want to make sure I thank Senora Garza and the other staff members for the hard work they put to make sure that that information was given to us. So thank your staff very much for their work. So next, we're going to turn to Peggy, as she wants me to call her, but I'm going to call her Dr. Peggy Nzema.
Okay.
All right, it's just fair. Dr. Peggy Nzema is the liaison librarian for international students at Kent State University, coordinates library and information services for international students at Kent State University, and domestic students participating in the Kent State University study abroad programs. And while you're much closer to us, I'm still really interested to learn about what you're doing over there at Kent State for your students.
Yeah, sure. Thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you, Cleveland Public Library, Global Cleveland. You just do a wonderful job here in the city of Cleveland. I want to share a couple of things. I know I don't have too much time, so I just want to concentrate on perhaps a different point of view that the others might not have. And that is information literacy. So if I could, I would like to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. All right, so I would love to share my screen and it just escaped for a little bit there. Go back. Okay, and just take a little bit of a general approach, and then I'll talk a little bit about what I do specifically at Kent State. So we all know that libraries play an important role in society as repositories of knowledge and information. When you're looking for information, especially reliable information, most of us think to go to the library in the first place. But I also want to mention the role of libraries in development all over the world. And I want to mention the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that were developed in 2030 and signed by all the 193 member states in 2015. And if you look at all those, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but specifically, I'll just mention some of the ones that I see libraries playing a key role in, specifically just in the economic, social, and educational structure of our societies or within nations. So when you look at goal 3, for instance, good health and well-being, libraries provide information, especially about health, which is very important, especially as we have seen in this pandemic. Quality education, academic libraries, school libraries, and even public libraries. Anybody knows that if you're seeking for good education, Cleveland Public Library actually call themselves as the People's University, which is really right. If you go to the Cleveland Public Library, you will get information that you need to educate yourself. And then industry, innovation, and infrastructure, just in terms of promoting research and that leads to innovation, that leads to infrastructure, that leads to development. Again, libraries are play a key role in providing that sort of information. And then, of course, sustainable cities and communities, as I'll mention in the next slide, just the importance of information literacy and building information literacy societies. So we all know that libraries, yes, they do provide access to information, but now more and more we are seeing that libraries provide instruction on how to find and access information, how to evaluate information, and how to use and share the information effectively and ethically. And that's the information literacy role that I was talking about. The Moscow Declaration on Media and Information Literacy in 2012 underscores the importance of building information literate societies. And information literacy is just that set of competencies that help individuals to be able to seek, critically evaluate, and create new information and knowledge in different forms. So for instance, in academic libraries, I always emphasize to students that they need to realize that they more than just consumers of information. They need to think of themselves as creators of information. They need to think of themselves as adding to knowledge, existing knowledge and information. And we can all do that. I've seen one of the panelists here who's a poet. That's creating information. So in academic libraries, most of us support research, teaching, learning in higher education settings. We provide resources like every other library. Could be e-resources, print, and audiovisual. We provide, of course, study spaces whenever there's no COVID, of course. We provide study spaces that students can come in and study. We provide information literacy instruction. But I want to emphasize especially the last three, and that are becoming more and more important for academic libraries. Nowadays, academic libraries are emphasizing the institutional repositories. That's just where you attempt to collect at least. Yes.
Mr. Fulton,
yes.
Or do you hear the voice of the presentation?
I couldn't hear you.
I hear Willem. Can you not hear her?
I can't hear.
Peggy, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. And Willem was saying that he couldn't hear you. Does everybody hear the presenter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody hears her except for you, Willem. So you might want to check your volume.
You hear Mr. Fulton?
Yeah. You hear me? Did you hear Peggy?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I don't think he's hearing you, but everybody else hears you.
Okay.
So why don't you finish up, Peggy?
Okay, so I was talking about institutional repositories where we are realizing that it's important for us to collect, especially research that's been done inside the institution, and provide that research and those resources free to all other researchers and scholars and students in the institution. We are realizing the importance of consortiums such as OhioLink. OhioLink is just the consortium or the organization that brings together all, especially academic libraries in Ohio. And we share resources, and this is just to help us to lower the costs of subscriptions to journals, to ebooks. And so institutional repositories, consortiums are ways in which a lot of academic libraries especially are finding useful in lowering subscription costs. The other way is open access. Right now, we stress a lot on affordable course materials. These are just especially for textbooks, ways that we find in helping students not have to buy every textbook. And open access is a movement that has been around for some time, and a lot of libraries are finding ways to support this, and library and information science professionals are great advocates of open access. We have, for instance, the directory of open access journals, the directory of open access books, and OpenStax is open access to textbooks. So these are just ways in which libraries are finding useful in lowering costs of subscription. So academic libraries, I'll speak a little bit as to what I do as liaison for international students. This is a role that is newer, and many academic libraries in the United States don't have this position. But at Kent State, I'm privileged to have this position, and I have really enjoyed myself in being able to especially cater to international students. And some of the work that I do is to introduce them to new higher education system. They're coming from a different higher education system. I introduce them to new library systems. I provide specialized information literacy instruction. That just entails, for instance, we know that in library and information science, we have a lot of jargon. Even if it's in English, sometimes you have things like checkout books, the reference desk, circulation desk. Sometimes for an international students, even if they know English, they're proficient in English, some of those terms or some of that jargon does not mean a thing to them. They do not understand what it is, a reference desk, a circulation desk, or to check out a book. So I help in kind of translating some of that. But also what I've found important is multilingual information access. And we provide especially information that we think is very important, such as academic integrity information on plagiarism. We provide that in different languages, especially for international students. When they just come in, we find that this is helpful for them. And so we have translated, for instance, this is a document that talks about how to avoid plagiarism, how plagiarism is defined, and how to avoid it. We find that sometimes in other cultures, academic integrity or plagiarism, issues of plagiarism and cheating may not be defined in the same way as it is in the US. So we find that it's important for them to understand this. And so we find a way to provide that in their own language. So we have this on our website, and we have found that it is used actually worldwide. And we have it in at least 8 languages. We try to concentrate at least on those languages that are represented by our international students. One thing that many libraries have done, and I think is very useful, is just to have the Google Translate widget on their website. And we do have that on our Kent State website. And that helps a user, even who is international and may not be very conversant with English or whatever language that you have on your website. a Google Translate widget would be useful. Now, we all know that Google Translate or machine translation is not accurate, but it helps. It helps in some ways. And if you have followed machine translation from when it started, maybe way back in 2012 or a little bit earlier, it has improved a lot. And I believe it's just going to improve even more. So information has value, and here are just some dimensions of value of information. We know that monetary information has value. We would like information to be free, but the unfortunate reality is that it is not free. If you think about the costs of publishing, I don't know if any of you have watched the movie Paywall, The Business of Scholarship. I encourage you to watch that movie. If you have never watched it, you will realize that the publishing industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and publishing costs and subscription costs just keep rising. So information has value in terms of the dollar amount or the money that you pay for it. Of course, for academics, in order to get a good grade, you will need to read those research papers. And then workplace related information, we find that a lot of us in our workplaces, we need information in order to carry out our work effectively. And then for personal interests, health information. During this pandemic, you have been seeking information to find out how do I keep myself safe? And other personal interests such as recipes and do-it-yourself information. Many of us, we talk about just Google it. Well, it means find information about your information need. And that's what the Google is. And so even when you're troubleshooting, say you have a problem with your computer, you Google it. You try to find information about it. And so information has value in that sense. And then, of course, for leisure and entertainment, such as social media, movies and news and sharing information across with our networks. So
Peggy,
yes.
I'm going to interrupt you here because we have 3 other speakers that need to go. So you might want to go to your final slide.
Okay, all right. I'm going to go with this information literacy. Just recently, this quote by the WHO director, "We are not just fighting an epidemic, we are fighting an infodemic." It really underscores the importance of information literacy and us being able to evaluate information and find good information that we can use, especially for things like health information. I like this infographic from IFLA, and it talks about how to spot fake news. It's available on the IFLA website in about 50 languages. So this I've used with many of my networks to just assure them that they need to evaluate the information they have. Collaborations in libraries, expertise sharing across conferences, information access, e-resources, and interlibrary loan. Those are all ways in which libraries collaborate. Here are some examples of collaborations in libraries. In academic libraries, I want to mention Kent State. We have a collaboration with Pontifical Catholic University in Pirana, Šūlė University in Lithuania. This was in the past. We shared books and exchanged librarians and faculty exchange. We have a vision for providing a global library in Cleveland where we'll provide multilingual information access, preserve cultural and linguistic heritage of immigrant populations. This library would also act as a clearinghouse for book donations, and then also hold a human library event. Okay, I'm going to end here by putting in, if you want to showcase what you're doing in your library or collaborations that you have had, please send me a submission and it will be published in the Journal of Library Administration. I am the column editor for the Global Perspectives column, so feel free to send me an email with your submission. And again, my email is pinzomo@kent.edu. And thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you, Peggy, and thank you for the shout outs for Cleveland Public Library. We really appreciate it. To the speakers, I want to make sure that they see in the chat that there are folks who are there to help you if something should happen with your volume or there's an issue. Janika is as the organizer, and she's relating things to get that. I know I saw Austin in and out of the chat, and I hope that he's there. I will actually go next with Willem if he's available and ready to do his presentation. I also want to thank Kelly Rubinico, who was in the chat, who said Felton Thomas should never be muted. And that is an absolute truth. So we're going to go. Willem, you've disappeared. Are you still with us? All
That's
right,
true.
so I can hear you.
I am. I had some difficulties. I didn't either hear you for a while.
Well,
but now
all right,
I'm
so
back.
we hear you, and I'm going to do your bio, and then you can go ahead and do your presentation.
Thank you.
Willem Liban, the director of the National, is the director of the National and University Library. He's considered one of the greatest experts in the field of librarianship in Slovenia. He has run various libraries for more than 20 years, and in each has succeeded in taking a step forward. I've been to your library, and it is just tremendous. It's a wonderful library, beautiful. The aesthetics are unbelievable. So let's turn it over to you and hear more.
And I will show you. I'll try to. Do you see the presentation?
Not quite yet, so we're waiting on it.
Mr. Laban,
Okay.
I also have
Is it
access
now?
to your presentation if you'd like for me to share it, just
Yeah.
so you know.
Why don't you go ahead and bring it up?
Okay.
Do you see?
So I think Janika is
Okay.
going to bring it up.
Do you see the picture?
Yes, it is there.
It is. Well, this is our National and University Library. It is situated in the old and it's National Library, although it has also additional function, and it is a university library of the University of Ljubljana. This is the library from one side. You see the entrance and two sides of the old building, which was created by the architect Plečnik in just before the World War II. It was opened in 1940, and at the time it had plenty of room for the books, and nowadays it has so much larger collection that we have to store it on the other side of Ljubljana. Though the National and University Library was founded in 1774, so after a few years we will celebrate 250 years of the formation of the library. Although this formation was by a decree of authorities in those days, by which they created of books. It was not a library today, but starting point, so to say, of the library. At this building of the National Library, we have more than 300 room seats. We have more than 10,000 active members, library card holders, more than 275,000 visitors last year, and the library collection is made of 2.9 units of printed and non-printed materials. And if we align all materials on the shelves together, the shelf would be long 31 kilometers. This is the entrance to the library, and this is the entrance hall in front of the reading room, and this is the actually most famous part, and this is the reading room of the library. And this is our digital part, which is called Digital Library of Slovenia. It has some figures. 5 million site views, million visitors who downloaded 80 terabytes of materials. And this is our wish and our plan to build a new library called National and University Library number 2, or NUC 2, which we hope we open when we will celebrate 250th anniversary of the establishment of the National and University Library. That would be for short presentation. I'm not sure.
Well, I have seen the
hear?
library. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All righty. Yes.
Did you see the presentation?
Well, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. We did. Absolutely. It's beautiful.
Okay.
And I am looking forward to an invitation to come to Slovenia and see the new library on the anniversary. I would assume that will be 2024.
I hope so. I hope so. The plans are, of course, but we are in the process of, let's say, collecting the funds needed.
All right. Well, I look forward to it. And later on, me and Willem will be signing a memorandum of understanding between the National Library of Slovenia and the Cleveland Public Library. So that will be happening just in a few minutes after we finish all of our presentations. So I don't see Austin back in the panelist room. Is Austin Vaughn with us in the panelist room? I don't see him there. I've seen him going in and out of chat. I think he's been trying to get back with us. So that will leave Eran. Ron, are you up? Let me give you your bio and then you can give your presentation. So Eran Moskovitz is the head of the Beit Shan Library. He is a vegan, a theater and street food aficionado, writer, photographer, and cook when possible. Eran has an MA in literature and behavioral sciences. He has created an innovative library model that relies upon teen engagement, empowerment, and leadership to drive involvement and growth in Beit Shan. So it's great to have you. I've been around you enough to know that you are a vegan, so I can vouch for you from that standpoint. And so why don't you go ahead and give me a little introduction to your library in Beit Shan.
Thanks, Felton. And first, thank you, Cleveland Public Library, for this remarkable opportunity to share with you our greatest idea. In Beit Shan, we have a public library, small public library, the main public library of the city, but it's very special, and I'm working at the best job in the world, I actually say, because I have the right to work with teenagers. And for sure, I'm going to talk about three main ideas. I don't have a presentation to share, but I want to talk about ideas of this beautiful place in Beit Shan. First of all, we think as a social education leader and not a simple director. which means we got 3 choices needed. We try to move the concept of library as a place for books to a home for people. We change the concept of people of our community, how they perceive about their perception of the library, how they share their ideas with us, and change needs people. So this is the reason that I'm working with teenagers. And actually, another idea is to think about the long-range process. We take 1 volunteer to young manager, and then to social leader in his community. How we do it? We have to find, we have a challenge to find, it's called Tweezer's stage, discovering your diamond partners by simple conversation. Ask for their talent, favorites, and main abilities. And then you must act. Simple missions and success experience. Create different teams for subjects. The second principle is taking the library as an unlimited Luna Park of possibilities, which means we said always yes to every initiative which comes from the community. Yes, stable, consistent policy to volunteer initiatives, people initiatives. We have constant expand of content diversity, music, food, theater, leadership, gardening, etc. Any subject that never comes directly in mind while you think about library, like theater, like food. We have food marketing, and we take all the money and invest it on our community. And the second main idea, and the third main idea, sorry, is that everyone good at something. Library is a place, is a space of self-expressions and fulfillment for young people. This is the place where they can be sure and be positive to themselves. They must be proactivity, and proactivity at all as a value and as a key for a meaningful process. When we take one teenager or one kid, we just ask him for what he likes to do and what is the keys, his keys, that he's good on it. And we try to map his abilities. And everyone has abilities, and every kid. And then by 3 years or maybe 4 or maybe more, these little kids will be young managers and ability about their friends and their neighborhood classes. And then in the future, will be social leaders. First at the city of Beit Shean and in the region, and maybe in Israel. Because leadership is the most beautiful thing that we can give to our young generation. Actually, and in the end, instead of presentation, I want to talk about hope. Especially at these days. About we give hope to those young people, hope to create, hope to think creatively, and hope for them to take their abilities and give back to their communities. In Israel, I must say, this model is very unique. First, because I'm very young as a library manager. Second, I'm a man. In Israel, the most managers are women. So we try to take this model in other libraries in Israel, and we have some challenge because of the directors and the spirit. And we found out that the director have a huge, meaningful And if you have spirit to think far in years, not months or days, and if you believe in this kid that in 2 or 3 years from now he will be a leader, and you must give him the keys to do it, you got the whole world. Because hope is something that if you take care of it, never disappear. And they will remember you and all the acts that take them from point A to point B. So we in Beit Shean, in Israel, have the right to be a hope library. Let me put it this way. It's all about hope. Thanks.
Thank you, Eran. And just to let everybody know, we've used the Beit Shean model here in Cleveland, and it has been phenomenal and changed young people's lives. And we had one of our young people who was a part of that program get up and do a presentation, and she said, without the sense of being able to have this leadership opportunity, I don't think I could ever get in front of 500 people and give a presentation. So thank you, Eran, for the work that you guys are doing there in Beit Shean. So I think the last presenter was Austin Bond, who's from Mayo, Ireland. And we have his presentation, but I'm not quite sure that he's able to get his video working. So we're still working on that. And I really would like to try to at least show his presentation. If he can't speak over it, we can at least see some things around his library. So there is Mayo. And we see the library there. Mayo is at the top of Ireland. Their mission to enhance the quality of life for all, providing diverse cultural, educational, changing role of the library, very much like us, dealing with social isolation. And so they have 14 branch libraries. They also service the isolated areas. There's some of their branches here. That's a beautiful library. Wow, that's wonderful. They have a Healthy Ireland program. Laughter yoga. I wish we could hear from Austin on that. I'd really like to know what in the world that is. And the kids. Genealogy services are huge. And they listen to what the public wants. The public always wants coffee. Good. People often wonder if libraries are going to go away. We're busier than ever, and our memberships are going up, and we're finding different ways of serving folks. And one of their great programs is they actually check out music instruments. For your staff. And local history programs. Can't go wrong with babies. That's the national picture for Ireland. And I know they just won an award as the best library in Ireland. So, you know, we want to thank Austin for sharing that with us. I'm sorry that he wasn't able to speak to some of the greater questions, but we want to thank him for trying to participate with us and getting to know a little bit more about the libraries in Mayo. Well, I've been to Kent, and I've been to Ljubljana, and I've been to Beit Shan. I haven't been to Nueva Leon, and I haven't been to Mayo, Ireland. So I will make sure I put those two on my list, and hopefully I'll be able to get out and visit your libraries. So with that said, I think we've reached a point. I thought we were going to have an opportunity for some questions, but we're right at a time where we really need to go into the presentation in which, you know, we are going to do a memorandum of understanding with our friends from Ljubljana and the National University Library of Slovenia and the Cleveland Public Library. So I know, Willem, you have some words and I have a little. So this is kind of odd to do a national signing virtually, you know, between countries, but we're going to try to do this here. And so, Willem, you have some words and I have some words, and then we will actually read our resolutions and then sign them and show everybody, and everybody will apply. All right, so let's try to do that. All right, we need to get your volume on there. I'm not sure if you're muted there or we have you muted. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, again, the times that we live in, so we have to adopt. And I think we are adopting very quickly. Us, and I mean by we, also libraries. And we are very excited to sign a memorandum of understanding, so to say, of future cooperation with both libraries, the Cleveland Public Library and National University Library. Also, because there is a strong Slovenian community living in Cleveland. And me personally, I am, so to say, touched because many of my relatives also live in Cleveland. And I hope, or maybe I believe that we can also approach to them and somehow to establish a better collection with them as well. But speaking generally, I believe that we can share expertise, knowledge, and experience in the fields, perhaps most interesting fields these days, of virtual libraries, of digital world that we were somehow pushed into, but we will have to turn this opportunity into our, to achieve our goals, to reach further and more public, to reach all those that we cannot reach by our classical way of work. And I'm looking forward to achieve those goals together with Cleveland Public Libraries.
Well, thank you so much for those words. I think it's been roughly 9 years since the city of Cleveland had a business mission to Slovenia, and I was very fortunate that the mayor asked the library and me as the director to join him and a group of business leaders to go to Slovenia and be able to just have an opportunity to see the countryside, the country, get to know more about business and that was going on. And I asked just one thing. All I wanted to do was see the libraries, and they took me to the National University Library and the Public Library, and it was a tremendous visit. And I took a number of things away back here. And as I would have a chance to talk to the Consul General of Slovenia, who is here in Cleveland, we would always talk about better ways that we could create a better relationship between the two cities of Ljubljana and Cleveland. With your wonderful new Consul General, Alenka has been just fabulous about pushing this forward. And so now we are here at this point where we can sign a formal agreement between the two cities and the country of Slovenia to make sure that we're connecting together and sharing information that will help our libraries move forward. So with that, if you would read your side in Slovenian, and then I will read it in English, and then we will sign it and show everybody.
Okay. Shall we proceed?
Yeah.
Okay. I will read it first in Slovenian language, the shortened version. And it goes like this. Knjižnica Cleveland in Narodna in univerzitetna knjižnica bosta v medsebojnem sodelovanju, partnerskimi projekti in izmenjavo storitev krepili poslanstve obeh ustanov v skladu s prioritetami in razpoložljivimi viri. Sodelovanje vključuje skupno načrtovanje in sponzoriranje dogodkov, koordiniranje dejavnosti in programov povezanih s potrebami knjižnic po svetu, izobraževanje osebja, organizacija priložnostnih razstav in koordinacija programa izmenjave sodelavcev. Sporazum velja 5 let od dneva podpisa in se avtomatsko podaljša. This is a shortened version. Now you can read it, the full version.
I will read the full version in English
Mr.
because I
Thomas.
will not be reading it
Okay.
in Slovenian. So the Cleveland Public Library and the National University Library agreed to promote and enhance the respective missions of these institutions through partnership, collaboration, and exchange of services, which may involve the undertaking of the following activities in accordance with each party's priorities and as each party's respective resources permit. 1, jointly plan and sponsor events that support the respective missions. 2, coordinate activities and programs related to the needs of libraries across the globe. 3, educate staff on the resources available at the other partners' library. 4, when appropriate, coordinate special exhibits at designated branches of Cleveland Public Library. 5, develop a librarian exchange program, allowing institutions, leaders firsthand knowledge of operations, processes, and best practices. As set forth below, this agreement shall remain in force and effect for a period of 5 years from the date below and should automatically renew until such time as the agreement shall be terminated. Either the National University Library or the Cleveland Public Library may terminate this agreement with or without cause. This agreement may be amended or modified by agreement of the parties in writing. It is assigned into 4 original copies, 2 in English and 2 in the Slovenian language. And thus is an agreement between the Cleveland Public Library, United States of America, and National and University Library, Republic of Slovenia. And with that, I'm going to take my pen, my little special pen here, and I'm going to sign it.
I'll take mine as well.
And I will show everyone that we have an official agreement
Show mine.
between the Slovenian. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Very excited. One day we'll be able to get together and actually do this together, either in Cleveland or in Ljubljana, or maybe both. So we will work with our.
Maybe both.
I think both
Let's
would be
say
great. I
both.
think both would be great. So this is going to end our program once again on the libraries. I want to thank all of our speakers. Esteban, who those folks you may not be able to see. Dr. Jose Javier Villarreal, thank you, doctor, for your assistance with us. And Ron Moskovitz, thank you. Look forward to seeing you soon, my friend. Peggy and Zelma. Peggy, I'm going to make a visit out to Kent State and get the chance to see what you guys are doing there. It's phenomenal, and hope to be able to send something to you for the Journal of Library Administration that you'll be able to use.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Philip?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. we will be seeing you soon enough. I look forward to being able to see you in Ljubljana or see you here, one or the other. So thanks all for joining us today. We look forward to, hopefully you are enjoying the conference. And once again, I want you to thank our sponsors. We appreciate their assistance with the conference, and please support them. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.